How you doing, Motivated family? It is Motivated Car coming at you with today's newest motivational lie. Join me in a few minutes will be retired Marine Sergeant Major of 30 years, Sergeant Major Mayo. Uh, I'm about to send her an invite right now. Give me a second, please. Sir? Bring I said. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. My dad needed me. Do this. There we go.
Hey,
Afternoon. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I cannot complain. I'm having a good start to my year and good start to my day.
Good, good. That's always good.
Thank you so much. Uh,
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me on. I watched some of your videos and the motivational information you put out there. I mean, it's fabulous. It's fabulous. So thank you for thinking of me.
Thank you so much. And I believe it or not, like I'm not stalking none, but I was going to YouTube just watching some motivational video because I was like, okay, I need motivation. And your video popped out. I was like, hmm, who's this? I watched the video. Like, wow, okay, I gotta see if she wants to be part of my thing one day. And I was actually quite shocked when you said you wanted to do it.
Of course, of course. I'm always game to help out Marines.
I do. I sincerely appreciate that, and you shown that. So, to introduce myself, my name is Lance Corporal Tyree Carter. I am in my fifth year. I'm almost out of the Marines, get out in 7 months. I have a bachelor's in criminal justice. Originally, I was planning to go Marine Corps officer route, but certain events in my city gave me pause, and now I'm pursuing a law enforcement route.
And that's incredible. So you've finished your bachelor's degree now?
Yes, I have.
That is commendable. That is commendable. So
Thank you so much.
you'll have no issues finding a position. And I know you and I had talked about possibly working for the government or
Right.
even the Marine Corps as a civilian, and you won't have an issue.
I do appreciate that, and I do appreciate you sending that information because I didn't think about that. That shows I still got a lot to learn, but there's always room for improvement.
Well, be sure you check out the website, Department of the Navy HR, and that's where the Marine Corps GS jobs and a lot of the NAF jobs are out there too. And if you have a security clearance through the Marine Corps, that'll help you even more.
I think I do. I'm gonna double check with it when I go to the drill in 2 weeks.
Wonderful,
Thanks so
wonderful.
much. But I want to introduce you. You want to tell everyone who you are?
Well, I am Yolanda Mayo, retired Sergeant Major, and I work for DOD with Marine Corps Community Services at Camp Lejeune. I'm the Deputy Operations Officer there. I'm very active in my veteran community. I'm also a Marine Corps wife, a Marine Corps mom, a Marine Corps mother-in-law. So we kept it all in the family. So yeah,
Wow.
Marine Corps is our family business.
I can see that. I'm like, yeah, Marine Corps wife, mother-in-law. That's wow. I I don't know how you can do it. Like I know it's hard. It's hard having one Marine family. Take it from my mom and dad. They'll tell you.
Oh yeah, and I will tell, and I've told everybody this over and over. My hardest job in the Marine Corps, and people always ask me that. Marine Corps mom, Marine Corps mom.
Yeah.
It's the hardest job. Not being in control, and, and when you're used to being in charge and not
Yeah.
being in control of any of that, it made me have a lot of respect for my parents and what I put them through.
I can only imagine because I'm like my mom and dad. They keep telling people it's like have my son as a Marine. It's the hardest thing in the world right now because he's not controllable no more.
Well, be sure you give your mom a hug. Give your mom, your dad, your grandparents, all your family a hug, because being a Marine Corps spouse, being a Marine Corps family member, it's difficult. It's not easy.
I do. I'm gonna make sure I do that as soon as we're done here. I promise I will. I actually wanted to know, when did you join?
I joined in 1986.
Wow.
It's a while ago, I know. Before you were born.
Yeah. Yes, it was before I was born. Like, 12 years before I was born. I'll admit that.
Yeah, I have to say that I've got some pretty good genes. I'm older than I look. Everybody thinks I'm a little bit younger. I'm like, oh, no. I joined in the 80s. I grew up in the 80s. I had been at Central Michigan University,
Right.
and I joined out of college and
Wow.
left. As a matter of fact, next month is my anniversary. I left in February.
That's amazing. And you say you joined out of college?
Yes, out of Central Michigan University.
Wow. I don't know. I'm shocked you didn't go officer route. Like, you didn't want to be an
You
officer, or
know,
you just wanted to go straight in?
that's funny that you say that, because they even pulled me aside during boot camp and asked me, and I said, you know what? Let me finish this. Let's do one step at a time and see where it goes. And this was the route I took. It's not it doesn't necessarily mean that was for everybody, but it was the one I chose. And I wouldn't change the route that I took for anything, because it's me who I am.
That's good. That's good. Like, most people would jump at the opportunity. You say, hey, I'm gonna stick with this, and you stick with it, and obviously it shows. Your achievements, you being in for 30 years, and you being a sergeant major, it obviously shows you're committed to one thing. When you say I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it.
That's it. And that's with anything that you do. I mean, if you put your mind to it and that's what you decide to do, don't let anybody change your mind. You set your goal and go for it.
Right. And that's the kind of motivation that I was looking for today, because that's why I asked you. I was like, I need some kind of motivation. Not that I'm running out of it, just sometimes I like to get it from someone else.
Look, my son is doing it right now too. My son is a captain in the Marine Corps, and he obviously he has his bachelor's, and he had started his master's when he was still in school, because he was a football player. And I was like, hey, if they're paying, you're staying. But then, of course, he went the officer route, and now he has applied, and he is in the master's program at Marshall University while he is still active duty. So he's knocking that out too. So you can do it.
Hey, knock out two birds with one stone. I like that. All the motivation to him. I know he can do it. You obviously see it. He can do it. I wanted to ask, what do you think is some of your highlights in your career?
Oh, wow. There's so many. I mean, I had opportunities pre 9/11 and then post 9/11 as well.
Right.
I just saw that one of the Marines that served with me had joined on here on live, and he and I had a chance to do Fleet Week in New York City, which was incredible. And I know you're listening, Solo. We had a great time and learned so much and got to do so many things. I tell everybody, if you get a chance to go to Fleet Week, go to Fleet Week. It's not going to be like it was years ago, but it's still a good time. And then I flash forward. I mean, I loved Okinawa when I was a young troop, and I had wonderful experiences there. But also when I was in Baghdad, I mean, some of the stuff that I did in Baghdad, you don't realize that you're a part of history until after. But there are certain moments in time. I was there for the signing of the interim constitution in Baghdad, Iraq, and we were recording everything live. And because where I was at in the green zone, I had to take we had the constitution, and I had to carry it downstairs for the signing. And it dawned on me, I'm like, I am carrying this country's constitution. This is a moment in time that we were capturing it. And those are things that always stick with me. But then there's the people, the time that you spend with the Marines themselves, And with I got a chance when I was in Baghdad. I worked with the multinational forces, so I served with everybody. I served with the British Marines. We served with Australians and the Polish camp. We went to the Polish camp in Babylon. I mean, I walked through Babylon. I mean, it was crazy when you think about it. I look back and I'm like, wow, I really did all that stuff. It's cool.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
But I want to tell everybody, just capture the moment. I mean, right now, social media is so huge, and everybody's like, wanting to get this, wanting to get that. But you got to remember where you're at and enjoy the moment. Enjoy the moment and enjoy the people that you're with.
Wow. You know what? That's actually a very good thing, because that's something that I've been thinking about. Like, I'm so close to getting out. Here I am. I'm thinking about all the I've been to the worst places, the coldest places, to the highest places in my time in the Marines. I'm like, oh my gosh, at least I got to do it with them, and I wasn't alone.
Well, adversity breeds friendship. It breeds partners. I was in cold weather training, and I hated cold weather training. It was the worst ever. But those people that I was with are some of my best friends now.
I 100% agree, because like I said, in 2019, I was in Latvia. It was the worst place in the world. Like, I never been to a place that was so cold. Cold I was at Fort Leonard Wood. And then Latvia, -2 degrees at night, and then 10 degrees throughout the day. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I got to deal with some of these people, because some of these people are now my best friends.
Yep. And you're going through it together, so you're okay.
Yes, and that's that shared camaraderie that we have, that no one else can say, hey, I've been here. No, you haven't.
I also want to remind you of this, because while you're on the brink of getting out, and I'm watching some of these people who have joined in, and many of them I know are now out of service, but they will tell you, this will be the time you look back on. This is the time in your life. This is when you're an old man sitting on the porch, and this is what you're going to remember. You're going to remember this time that you spent with these people. It's a very special time in your life. So just remember that. And I can tell you that now as a retiree, because I look back and I'm like, yes, those were some of the best times of my life.
I agree. And I agree with that. Like, my dad told me the same thing too. He told me the same thing. My mom told me the same thing. And I was like, hey, if y'all tell me that, then who am I to argue? I wanted to get into, so you brought up your combat tours in Iraq. How many did you do?
3. I had 3 combat tours. I served in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and then I was in Iraq twice. I was there for the initial push with Task Force Tarawa in 2003 and 2003, and then I was also, and I went back in 2004, 2005. And I was with AFN. I was the news bureau chief for AFN in Baghdad.
Wow. You were public affairs for the Marines?
I was public affairs. I've had several MLSs. So when I was in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, I was an engineer. And then I changed my MOS and went back. When I went into in 2003, I was public affairs. And then, of course, after that, I became First Sergeant Major.
You know what? Now that you brought that up, being a Sergeant Major, when you were becoming First Sergeant to Sergeant Major, how did you feel?
It's so funny. I was just thinking about that today, because I knew you were going to ask about that, and I was talking to my son about one of the hardest ranks was First Sergeant, and that's. Now, some people might not say that that's the truth, but for me, it was. First Sergeant's a hard rank. And I remember my first time stepping in front of my first company as a first sergeant. And it's handed over to me by the company gunny. And I'm standing out there looking at all of these young faces looking at me. And honestly, what was going through my head, besides the fact that I was shaking, my knees were shaking, I was super nervous. In my head, I said to myself, Mayo, these people think you know what you're doing. Don't
Mm-hmm.
screw this up. Don't screw this up. They're counting on you. Because, you know, it's a huge responsibility when you realize, hey, you're the senior enlisted for all of these young Marines. And they're looking at you like, you know exactly what you're talking about and exactly what you're doing. And, you know, I was thinking to myself, do I really know this? So,
Yeah.
you know, it's difficult. But then you get more into it, and you become more comfortable and more confident. You have to be confident in yourself. Now, when I was selected to Sergeant Major, I got a phone call.
Yeah.
Hey, you got selected. And I didn't believe him. I said, I want to see it in paper. I want to see it in black and white. Well, the message isn't out yet. I was like, well, then you shouldn't have called me. They said, no, it's coming out. You just haven't. I was like, well, let me see the message. When I see the message, I will believe you. And that was from people that were, you know, they'd already received the message. It was hitting the wire, but you know, they received it first. As soon as I got it, I looked down. I had to, you know, found my name, found my social security number, my last four, and I had to look at it. I had somebody else look at it, and I said, "Can you make sure that this is there, that this is what it says?" It just kind of, you know, it's overwhelming. So that was in itself. But then the first time somebody called me Sergeant Major, I turned around and looked around to see who they were talking about. I was looking for the Sergeant Major. I was like, oh, it's me. It's me. It's me. It's, you know, I have to say that I'm very grateful for that. It was an honor to be a Sergeant Major of Marines.
And I'm glad. And I like to say, I thank you for all you've done for our Corps. I mean, I wish I met you when I was in, and when you were still in. But you know, hey, I mean, you know, it's good enough. And being a sergeant major as a female, I know that's a rarity back in those days. Nowadays, it's somewhat common. You don't see it a lot, but you see it more often than you did back then. How did that make you feel being a female sergeant major?
You know, I didn't realize that there were so few of us until, you know, they did a count, and there was only 23 female when I was in, 23 female sergeants major in the whole Marine Corps at the time when I got ready to retire, right before I retired. And I was friends with many of them. I mean, many of them I had been, you know, in with and had come up with. So it was crazy thinking, wow, until somebody says that to you, you don't I didn't realize. I mean, I'm just doing what I know to do.
Right.
You know, people have said, hey, you're a trailblazer, but you don't know you're blazing trails when you're doing it. You don't know. Right. But all I can say is thank you to those that came before me, because without them, I wouldn't have been where I was.
I 100% agree. Like, in that part you said about, you know, you never know you're doing it until someone says, hey, you're doing it. Like me, when I was in my unit, I know I was actually motivating a lot of people. But when my gun came up to me, he started calling me Motivator Carter, which is why I student him that. I was like, oh my gosh, maybe if my gunny's noticing it, now my CL's noticing, and then my first sergeant knows, and everybody else knows. And okay, I'm doing right, so I gotta keep going now. I gotta keep pushing it.
And don't stop. And you know what? I've told everybody, and I truly believe this. Your service to your country, to your community, it doesn't stop when you take your uniform off. Just remember that. You know, we're here to be active members of our community, whatever community that is. So if it's the military community, if it's your civilian community, wherever it is, that's what we have grown up and learned to do, to be active members of our community. So it doesn't stop just because you don't have the uniform on.
I 100% agree with you. That's also something that Sergeant Major down the street from my house, he told me, hey, when you take all the uniform, just understand your service is not stop. Because he still works with Marines. He goes to DamNet, he helps the Marines out over there. Even though he's civilian now, he still goes there, gives speeches, talks to them, makes some, you know, jokes and stuff. He gives me jokes, gives me motivation every other day.
Well, and now I'm here to help with our fellow veteran community. There's a lot of things going on with our Marines and our sailors and all of our service members when they get out. They need some assistance. My passion is homeless veterans. We should never, after everything that our veterans have done for our country and for all of us, there should never be a problem with homeless veterans. However, there is.
Yeah.
And right now, with our homeless veterans, one of the highest rising populations is female homeless veterans. And most of our
Right.
female homeless veterans are also single parents. So, and that's a problem. I mean, it's a problem because we don't have housing for them. There's so many things. So that's my passion. That's where I want to advocate for, and I want to do whatever I can to help those in need. And I feel like that's what I need to do personally. So if people ask me how can I help, I'm like, hey, you know what? Go buy a coat. Go buy some socks. Drop some money in for people helping our homeless veterans. And there's a lot of organizations out there right now who will help. The VFW, become a member of the VFW. They help our veterans as well.
VFW.
Mm-hmm. Veterans of Foreign War. Or go to your American Legion. There's so many different veterans organizations in your communities. I mean, we have the Marine Corps League.
Yeah.
We have, there's so many that you can be a part of.
And I absolutely agree with that, because I've been a Marine veteran not too long ago. I gave him one of my sweatshirts that says Marine Corps on it. He says that he hasn't been in for 10 years. So I was like, you know what? Take my sweater. I want you to wear this. Like, thank you for what you did. I mean, I'm sorry that you don't feel that country may turn it back on you, but I had.
That's right.
And if you ever need, yeah, you got my number, and I always come through here. So just say, hey, I need something help.
They're all our brothers and sisters, and we need to help all of them.
You too, Frank. Good to see you too, man.
That's my granddaughter. I'm with my son and his family in Quantico this weekend, and my granddaughter's sitting next to me listening to me.
probably trying to figure out who else is talking. But my question is, 30 years. I'm probably sure you've heard this question a million times, but I'm gonna ask, how did you do it? Like, what got you kept going back and say, you know what, I'm gonna come back and do it some more. I'm gonna do it some more.
Well,
I'm gonna do it some more.
You have to have a support system. Nobody does this on their own. So no matter what I'm on my own. No, you don't. You have a support system. You have to have a solid support. I mean, I have 2 children, and my husband, he supported me throughout this whole thing. When I got ready to retire, I thanked him in my program. I had him thanked in the program because there's no way I could have done the things that I've done, gone the places that I've gone without him having solid support at home and taking care of the kids and making sure that the home fires were burning when I came home. So all of our spouses out there, when they say, hey, it's Military Spouse Appreciation, go appreciate them.
Right. That's why I tell some of my friends. I say, hey, look, I know sometimes you'd be like, oh my gosh, it gets boring at home. I'm like, trust me, y'all probably wouldn't be halfway where y'all are right now if your spouse wasn't picking up for y'all.
That's right.
Right.
So, thank them.
Right. And I tell my mom and dad thank you all the time, because I want to tell you how many times I have thought about when I was in my unit. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do this anymore. I don't want to go back. I'm done. Like, they give me a hard time. But then my dad, he gives me motivation.
You also have to remember, that you can do anything you want, but you can't stop the clock.
Right.
Eventually, your time's up.
Mm-hmm.
So wherever you're at, whether it's, and I've told people this before too, when they're getting ready to PCS, the best unit is the one you just left or the one you're going to.
Right.
So when you leave that unit, you're going to think about, well, the good things. There'll be some bad things that you remember, but you'll remember the good things.
I
So,
agree.
it changes. That's the thing with it's always going to change. It's going to change. You're going to go somewhere else. You're going to meet other people. It's going to change. So it's never going to stay the same. Hold out, hold on, and find good mentors.
That's that's exactly what my dad told me. He said, yeah, he told me to do the same thing as you told me. I found some good mentors in my unit, and one down the street, and then my next door neighbor. So I talked to some people, and okay, hey, I got mentors, so let me just talk to them, get some advice from them, ask them what they do. Even though they're all not Marines, but they've been in the military, so they know what I'm going through.
Mm-hmm.
Or they know what I'm thinking about. Like my good friend, Miss Orlando, 30 years in the Navy, gives some of the best advice I've heard.
Exactly. And, don't count out all your civilian leaders as well, because just because they hadn't been in the Marine Corps doesn't mean they don't have motivational information for you.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I agree. Both my brothers, they never served, but I talk to them all the time. They give me some good advice. And there's some civilians I talk to. Sometimes I don't talk to, but there's some I do. And they all give me decent advice that I never would have guessed or heard of. I always tell them, hey, look, I've been in college for 4 years. This is some best advice and lessons I've gotten. So, I have a friend who's back on Marines. I don't think she's here yet, but she's gonna see you later on. Hey, you got any motivational advice you want to tell her?
Female?
She's
Yes. Well, you know what? I want to tell you this. Don't be thin-skinned. When you join the Marine Corps, you got to understand. We all understand what we did. We signed the contract. Nobody made us do it. It's the largest rod and gun club in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best, the finest fighting force in the entire world.
Right.
Realize where we are. So don't be thin-skinned. Some things are going to hit you the wrong way. It's all right. Mm-hmm. Let them know up front. Don't hold it in and say, yeah, and just let it burn you up. Don't do that. And remember, things are always going to change. And sometimes you're the one who can make them change. But yeah. I think the thing I tell everybody is don't be thin-skinned. Don't get offended or easily, because sometimes it's not personal, dude. It's not personal. It's the Marine Corps. I tell people all the time, I support these orders because I still have to do it. I still go by Marine Corps orders. I still go by SecNavs. I still, those are the orders we have to follow. I don't make them up. Mm-hmm. I just enforce them.
Very true. Yes. That's the same thing my sergeant said once. He was like, "Okay, I don't make the rules. I just enforcing them."
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
you told me
the one thing I always leave everybody with, and that's the same thing I'll leave you and all of your followers with. You never forget where you came from. It's made you who you are, and whether that's good or bad, it's made you who you are. So that was the one thing I took from one of my mentors years ago. He said that to all of us. He said, never forget where you came from. So that can go for many things. It could go for the civilian life that you left and you came to. It can go from the enlisted life that you left and you're going into the officer rank now. Or it could be here and now you're going into the civilian world.
Right.
Don't forget who you are, because that's who you are at the core.
So basically, let's see, I got it right. Yes, I process these things. So I'm leaving the Corps. I'm going to civilian life. The good person I was in the Corps, say that same person I am in civilian life. Don't just drop it off because your uniform is off now.
That's right.
And actually, no. I'm glad you did say that because I have seen that a lot. Like, people get out of the Marines or get out of the military. The people who were disciplined, sharpened up, get out. They started doing things that they probably wouldn't have done in the military. Now, they're like, okay, Wow, this is a complete 180 from who you were when I last saw you.
And it doesn't need to be.
It doesn't need to be, but as we both know, it happens, and we can't change it, but we can at least just say, hey, try to be the guy you were or girl you were when you were
That's
in.
right. Thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate this. I'm always honored, and I consider it a privilege anytime I get to talk to Marines and motivate them. So maybe next time, we'll do it again. We'll do it again
Yeah.
sometime.
Yes, yes. Next time we do it, I'll probably be in my career field, and you will be seeing me thriving where I am right now.
Okay.
And I do appreciate you doing this. Like I said, I was completely shocked when you said you wanted to, but it was it made me happy that you said you wanted to.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. That's what motivation is about. So I will never turn a Marine down who's looking for motivation.
Thank you so much. And this actually was motivation I needed.
Have a wonderful weekend. Please tell your folks, hey, thank you for your service and letting you serve the Marine Corps.
I will. And you have a good one. And have a good weekend. And I can't wait. I can't wait for you, what happens tomorrow because you say your granddaughter's getting Christian, and that I'm
Yes,
pray for her.
yes, she's being christened this weekend. That's why I came. We're so excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for her too. Like I haven't got mine yet, but I will soon.
We'll see you soon. Have a safe weekend.
You too.
Hoorah.
Rah. Thank you for all those who tuned in. This was a great program. It was great to have Sergeant Major Mayo in it, and for all of those who were there, I appreciate all of you, and I'll see y'all later. And remember, car's the name, motivation's my game.